welcome to episode 3 of the Are You Listening podcast. It's been an interesting couple of games for the Scarlet Knights specifically, but before we get into that, Geo, what's good?
It's good, bro. Just been chilling. It's been an interesting couple of games, but also interesting couple of days too. Obviously my guy Dylan Harper just committed, so really happy about that. And it was a good day for Rutgers, even though they actually lost that day to Wake Forest. But it's a good time right now to be a Rutgers basketball fan.
Yeah, monumental day for the Scarlet Knights for sure. For starters, that weird time of the year where you have in-season or conference play kicking off, and then it pauses, and then you have out-of-conference games that are scheduled as well. So it's a ton of excitement. The holidays are here, but RU has been 2-2 over the last couple of games since we previously recorded. Illinois, Wake Forest. And then a really big game, obviously, against Seton Hall, and then LIU. That Illinois game, man, you talk about no rest for the weary, and a team that's obviously trying to get healthy in Rutgers. I mean, now looking back at it in retrospect, Illinois continues to play well, and they ran into a buzzsaw via Terrence Shannon Jr.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough, man. I mean, I was at the game, and the biggest thing that stuck out was just the physicality of their team. And you're looking from 1 through 5. They were bigger in every position and just more physical. And, they look like some grown men out there. And you got guys like Gavin and J Mike, where, it's their first year in college basketball, and it's their first ever Big Ten game. And you're going up against, fifth year seniors, guys who have been at multiple schools, guys who have been through the battles and guys who have won too at this high of a level. It was a tough game for them, first game in the Big Ten going against a team like that. But, I think it obviously will help them in the long run too. I feel like the guys got a lot of good film out of the game. But, they came out swinging. They hit Rutgers hard for sure.
Yeah, you talk about baptism by fire. That is the quintessential example of what that means. For the freshmen coming into their first conference game, there might not be a tougher opponent and a tougher guard in the country to try to contain than Terrence Shannon Jr. in Illinois, for that matter. He had 23 points and 10 rebounds, and he in open court is honestly just majestic. He is
crazy.
A football player playing the lead guard position, and he's shifty, and then he can take off from the free throw line or a step within and contort his body in a multitude of ways, man. So it's a beautiful thing to watch. But definitely probably a welcome to college basketball moment for the younger guys, that were stepping up in competition in this one.
Definitely. I mean, I was impressed too by his decision making when he was going downhill that fast. There was a lot of times where, and I've had teammates in the past, and we've had scouting report of other players in the past where they're going downhill like that. That they're usually very prone to charges or turnovers, and it honestly felt like he was making the right decision every time too, which is really hard when you getting downhill at the speed that he was going at. It seemed like every time it was either a layup or he was kicking it out to the right guy, and then it was an extra pass for a jump shot or a shot fake. I mean, they did a great job really attacking into the paint and then kicking it out for better looks. And that was probably impressed me the most about what he was doing.
Agree. Marcus Domas was also balling. I was really impressed my first time getting a chance to see him live. 15 points, 7 rebounds for him. Coleman Hawkins has been battling some injuries for Illinois, but played some really good defense throughout that game and made some big-time winning plays, which has just become his brand of how he likes to compete each and every time out. And for RU, a really good chance for somebody to step up, because it was a game that got out of hand, I would say, pretty early on, and you understand how the flow was going. But Andre Hyatt led the way, tied with Austin Williams for 9 points respectively, and Gavin Griffiths with 8, Derek Simpson with 7. So they moved on and had another tough one, had to fly, not too far after that one, down to Carolina to compete against Wake Forest and the Demon Deacons, who do not lose at home. And this was a get-back game, not for Rutgers per se, but for Wake Forest. When RU had a really successful win in recent history against the Demon Deacons, that's definitely something that weighs on your mind as a competitor, the opportunity to try to play against that team that's out of conference that beat you up pretty well, in the previous season.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that was another tough one, and again, going back to these little tests. I mean, you get your first Big Ten game, and then you got to go on the road against a good out of conference opponent. How do the young guys react? And it just seemed like the team was kind of flat the whole game. Never really felt like they really got any good energy. It didn't really feel like anyone got any type of rhythm against Wake Forest. So that's always tough. But again, how do you bounce back from it? Obviously, they showed that going on the road and claiming New Jersey's title and being Seton Hall. So I was really happy to see that from the guys, and we actually had them at the Rutgers Seton Hall banquet, which was really cool. Getting a chance to get Gavin there and Noah up there, and getting a chance for them to talk to the fans and get a taste for what the rivalry is really about. Because those are two guys that have not from Jersey, haven't been a part of it before. So they saw the importance of the rivalry game, and those guys really stepped up to the challenge. And it's really all about bouncing back, man. I thought, obviously getting Mawot back, really big deal as well. But if you look at Wake Forest and Illinois, those two games, I mean, they got out rebounded by like a substantial amount. I mean, it wasn't even close. So I think that's been like the biggest thing that they're seeing now, playing against some of these tougher out of conference teams or tougher Big Ten opponents. Is you really gotta man up and make sure to get on the board. So I think that's something that they've been adjusting to a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Wake Forest was an interesting one because it was a test. It was going down again in another hostile environment, and the only other situation previous to that was probably the game I would compare against Princeton, the first game of the
Mm-hmm.
season. And then you get a little bit of a break to be able to mentally recalibrate if you're Rutgers, and then you got to get prepared, to your point, for that Garden State Classic. And
Yeah.
no matter what records are, they go out the window when you have the Seton Hall competition and everybody's chirping all week.
Yeah.
And you want to come out there and win that and bring the Hardwood Classic trophy back to Piscataway, which it hasn't been in recent history.
Yeah.
So a big time game, an outing. I was there calling it. Noah Fernandez led the way with 19 points, but it was an all hands on deck affair. Jermichael Davis, Cliff Amori, Andre Hyatt, Gavin Griffiths all played really well offensively. I was really impressed with the defense by Jermichael Davis. He, was able to match up with Alamir Dawes and really take him out his rhythm. Kadari Richmond's a bucket regardless of who you put
Mm.
on him because of his size. He's at 6'6", and he looks like a linebacker out there. He's able to get wherever he wants to on the court. He finished with 21 points in total. But RU was able to pull away 70-63, and Big Cliff Amori, came back and was able to do what he needed to do, protect the rim. He's done a phenomenal job with that all season and had 13 rebounds, 7 blocks, and
Yeah.
walked away with the Joe Calabrese MVP as a result of that dub.
You got any good memories or stories from the rivalry games that you could think of on the top of your head?
A ton. We were talking with Freddie Hill the other day, and we were laughing about my freshman year when he was coaching, and Bobby Gonzalez was the head coach at Seton Hall at the time. They had Jeremy Hazel, they had Jeff Robinson when we were both in the Big East at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And at the old rack, it had none of the upgrades and none of the renovations that currently are standing within Jersey Mike's Arena. And the walls, I swear, were paper thin. You could hear the opposing team locker room
Yeah.
through the bathroom. And they beat us on our home court, and it was a whole bunch of theatrics throughout the game. People were
Yeah.
throwing elbows. People were wrestling on the floor. Hamade Njai was a senior that year, and I remember he got into a wrestling match with one of the Seton Hall players and then stood up in front of a completely sold-out crowd and started waving his arms. And I've never heard the rap so loud at that moment. It was wild, but
That's funny.
they ended up getting a dub, and certain players didn't even shake hands with Seton Hall. They just
Yeah,
walked away
that's how it
and
go.
walked into the locker room.
Nah, it's,
And these dudes started. They know because you grow up playing in the rack or you grow up playing in Jersey grassroots all at somewhere. So you know how the locker room was situated if you were a Seton Hall player. And they started banging on the wall because they knew that Rutgers could hear it, and they was talking mad
yeah.
shit. So
I ain't gonna lie, the walls are still thin. When we lost at home, we could hear them too, bro. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what
yeah,
you mean.
yeah. So I mean, that's just one of many. You had situations. where one of their players tried to, wrestle with the Scarlet Knight mascot, which was a whole nother thing. But it's always, appointment viewing television when both Seton Hall and Rutgers get together.
Yeah, and that was their first win at the Prudential Center since 2012, 2013 season, which is a crazy stat. I mean, it's been a long time, and it shows the direction that the program's going to. That's not an easy place to get a win at. I never found a way to win over there. And obviously it's only going to continue now when you got guys like Dylan Harper and Ace coming in. So it's gonna be good for Rutgers fans, I think, for a long time coming. I actually heard this a couple times about people talking about they think the rivalry's dying out a little bit. I want to hear your take on that a little. I don't agree, and I don't want it to die out. That was one of my favorite games every single year that we played. It was just it's just a fun environment, and even though it's built off of hatred, you could say, it's fun for the guys. As a competitor, that's one of my favorite games to play in. Do you see that dying out at all, or what's your thoughts on that?
I challenge a person saying that as to how would it be, in fact, dying out, because I feel
Mm,
like it always gets a tremendous amount of coverage and juice.
yep,
And you talked about, the excitement that you're able to draw and getting a banquet together and get
yep,
people bought in on both sides. So
yep,
if it's dying out, then how so? Because it seems to me that the state of New Jersey, at the very least, gets up for it.
yep,
I think maybe you have years that are down where, like, if both teams aren't where people are hoping from a statistical category standpoint,
right,
then they might not be as excited about it if the records aren't that. It doesn't seem as meaningful, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. But at the very least, you're always going to get a competitive basketball game. You're always going to get the theatrics. You're always going to get physicality and
for
toughness.
sure,
I think that they just need to make sure that it's continuously scheduled year in and year out, with
definitely,
both teams being in separate conferences. And I know these young bulls that see, you playing and, Ron playing and Caleb and the guys who came before them and what it means to you, that they're going to want a piece of that too. So
that's
hopefully they
trust,
keep it on the books,
yep,
and Shy and those guys got their eyes on what RU's doing. They're going to try to retool and reload and get competition and really good players to come in. So they're not losing in this arms race against RU, because they want to be the best team in the state of New Jersey.
yep, 100%. Nah, I 100% agree. I think the other thing too is nobody really knew each other on the teams this year. Like I felt like in my years
That's a
playing,
good point.
we all had like a little bit of a history, or like
It's a whole
somehow
bunch of
we
new
all knew
guys.
each other. It was funny. We asked them at the banquet, like they asked the Seton Hall guys, like, "Oh, do y'all have any stories or know anybody on the team?" And they both just Al and Kadari just kind of looked at each other like, "Nah, we don't know anybody." So yeah, I think that was another part of it too. It was like it got to a certain point where we knew Jared Roden, and we knew Miles Powell, we knew all the guys over there. So it was like that kind of added to the rivalry too, where we could talk a little bit more trash.
For sure, for sure. I mean, it's only going to get more and more exciting, and Rutgers is going to be in high demand regardless of who they're competing against. And you mentioned and touched on the excitement in the recent news with, the recruiting announcements of Dylan, pledging a commitment, and some of the other guys that are already signed. So, what do you feel all in all just about where the state of the program is, and what this means, for the potential of RU going forward, not only for recruits, but just as the brand continues to enhance and people nationally start to really recognize, what's going on at Piscataway.
I mean, it's in a really really good place, bro. Even just starting with this year, I know there's been a couple bumps in the road in terms of losses, but now that we got a guy like Mawot back, um, I just saw today Emmanuel was practicing, full participant in practice. It's looking like Jeremiah Williams going to get some eligibility. That's nothing official, but that's what it's looking like from everything that came out with the NCAA ruling. Um, so in terms of this year, this team, I mean, this is going to be a lot more complete team than what it looked like at the very beginning of the year. These guys are starting to gel more. Cliff is starting to come into his own. Obviously, he has 7 blocks against Seton Hall. Turning into the player that we all expected him to be at the beginning of the season. So for this year in general, I'm really excited about how this team's looking. Jeremiah Williams is a very, very good basketball player. Like I saw him practice a couple of times. talk about rebounding, toughness, all the stuff that they're kind of lacking a little bit. Him and Mawot fill that hole immediately. I mean, immediately. And he brings that experience, toughness, a little bit of swagger. Like he's gonna talk some trash. Um, he's a really, really good player. Like I'm excited to see him play. And then moving forward, the fact that they got these recruits, you got Dylan in the building, Ace in the building. I mean, you can go to any. If you're Coach Peichel, if you're TJ Thompson, B Knight, you can go to any recruit in the country and say, "Look who we got coming in."
The proof is in the pudding.
Nobody's gonna turn you down now. It's hard to get your foot in the door. That's the tough part. But now once you got them, it's like, well, look who we got coming. They're coming for a reason. So that those conversations become a lot easier. And now you're starting to build these bridges with recruits that maybe you couldn't do in the past. So now, I think we're gonna start to see a little bit of a trend where you got top 2025 recruits coming in, and then top 2026. And, people are going to be turning on ESPN to watch Rutgers play instead of Duke or Kansas or whatever it is. So the whole narrative changes. You know what I mean? Everything changes just because you've got these two big-time players coming in. So that I think it's only going to move forward from there.
To your point, I pulled out my phone because I know that this was floating around in the Rutgers universe after the Dylan Harper announcement about Brendan Knight's all-time recruits. That he's had either a hand in or was the lead recruiter in Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, Cliff Amore, Ron Harper Jr., Montez Mathis, Derek Simpson, and you, Geo Baker. So tell me for a second, what is it about B Knight that makes him such a phenomenal recruiter throughout the process?
Yeah, man. I'll say for me personally, I can't speak for everybody else. For me personally, I like talking to dudes who've been in it, who have played, who got the resume, who, have made it to that next level, who have, done something in their career. And like for me to talk to him, it's like he's not really talking to me like as just like a coach. It's like it's more of like a mentorship type of idea, and him saying like, look, I've been in the exact same position as you. I was an underrated guard, or I was this. This is what I did. This is how I did it. And it's like you can look at it and be like, damn, I could do the same thing as him. And everything he's saying, it's like, well, it's got to be true because he was a winner. like he already did it. The proof is right there. So that was the best thing for me, was like talking to him, talking to Coach Pikes. It's like, okay, well, these are 2 point guards who have done it at the highest level. Why would I not be excited to go learn from them and try to do exactly what they did, and that was win. So that was really fun for me. And then also just like his personality in general, again, not feeling like that coach player relationship, but just more like a family type of vibe. And he went out of his way to come to a lot of my games, and I wasn't playing I wasn't on a circuit, I wasn't in the UIBL, I wasn't in Under Armour, I wasn't in any of that. And there was actually the first tournament he saw me, he was supposed to fly out to EYBL, and he actually canceled the flight, and he stayed to watch me through the whole tournament. So like something like that, I'm like, shit, like it was like Rutgers and I think Kansas State were the only 2 big time schools that were at the tournament. So it was like, damn, like he's really showing love. He didn't have to stay. He didn't have to do that. So little things like that, I think they've shown that they were talking about how they went to see Dylan all the way across the world, right? Like Dylan say he looked up in the stands and he sees Pikes and B Knight just sitting there, like little stuff like that. They really go out of their way, They really go out of their way to show guys that they care and that they're going to be there for them, even when, they really don't have to,
Yep. That's crazy. And that's really cool to hear that, going above and beyond. It really resonates with people when you do the small things. So I was just amazed by that graphic to see the significance of, those players being able to get them into this program, because obviously they've played a significant role all in all, whether they're yourself and they've come through to change the course of the direction of the program all in all and in the future, which is very bright, man. And I'm glad you have brought up Cliff, because I think that he's turned a corner. He just scored his 1,000th point, which was dope to see, ahead of the LIU game. And then he just went out and dominated. And I think it was an emphatic fashion and a huge relief for him as a player to go out and be able to put up those types of numbers scoring-wise. He finished the game with 25 points and 11 rebounds.
Yeah.
And it was Cliff of old of last year
Yeah.
of having people also creating for him, throwing him lobs, and he was dunking on everybody. So I think that is a huge lift for him and a great momentum for him to continue to build on going into Mississippi State this weekend, Stonehill the following, and then back into Big Ten play once it resumes after the new year. And then you got Andre Hyatt, who played very well, 12 points, Jermichael Davis, 12 points, Mawot Mag, man. He just has, a knack for stepping up and hitting big shots when the team, the opposing team might be going on a run of momentum. And he did that against LIU. And then Derek Simpson, who hasn't been starting recently, but I like this new role for him to come in and be a spark plug for this team on both sides of the court.
Yeah, I mean, they all just got to stay the course. I mean, going back to Cliff, and we talked about it on this podcast, the first couple episodes, but how are guys creating for him? It was like you said, he was starting to get easier buckets where, he's setting good screens, just rolling to the hoop and, just throw it up. Like, the dude's athletic as shit. Like, throw it up there, let him go get it. And so he had more of those. And then I thought the biggest thing too, the last 2 games, he had 0 turnovers. So like, not only are they putting him in a better position to score right away, but also I think he's being more patient and, reading what the defense is giving to him and just making better IQ plays as well, which is going to be huge. I think against Illinois, he had 5 turnovers, which, was a huge difference as a big man. So that was another thing too that really stood out to me. And then for Derek, all these guys, the starting lineup's going to change a million times in the season. We talked about that in the first couple podcasts too, so how can you just stay with it, stay the course, and stay level-headed? Derek's a very good basketball player. So is Jermichael. So is Noah. The reality is one of them's got to come off the bench, and some days it's going to be Derek, some days it's going to be J-Mike, some days it's going to be Noah. That's just how the season goes, and you just got to roll with the punches and stay with it. And Derek's a very good basketball player, and like you said, right now he's finding his role as that 6-man, type of deal, or as that, first guard off the bench. So how can you be a star in your role and help the team win?
Okay.
And if the team's winning, then everything else kind of falls into place. You don't really got to worry about too much.
Applicable to life, being a star in your role, man.
Yeah.
Everybody can't be, the leading scorer. You can 100%. Be exceptional on something else. And I love that it's been ebbs and flows, ups and downs. It's a brand new team, as we was talking about people being brand new to the Seton Hall rivalry. Well, these are guys that were at different institutions just last season, and they're figuring it out. And after the Seton Hall win, Pikes came on the radio show and he was like, post-game, don't let us get healthy. Don't let us get healthy at the right time. And you talked about some of these other names that are full participants this week. You get the opportunity to win out for the remainder of December, and then you have all the momentum on your side going into January. But let me just pause there before we do. Heard some other rumblings about the non-conference schedule for Rutgers being weak this year, and you look at the numbers and you can understand why people are bringing that up. Currently 314th based on net rankings when you do a comparative analysis amongst all the Division I teams in the land, looking at the non-conference schedule. Do we feel like it's important to be able to build a more competitive or a sexier non-conference schedule, in the middle of all of the brutal Big Ten play? Obviously, last year, I'll come out and say Rutgers was snubbed on Selection Sunday. I thought that they should have been in, but in retrospect, would they have been in a better situation if they had scheduled some other, bigger names earlier in the year?
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. The reality is, if you take care of business against the bad non-conference teams, then you don't get penalized. That's the reality.
It's so hard to do that, though.
But what it does
wild.
create is, you give teams chances to come in and steal a win from you. And it happened to me in my 5th year when we lost to Lafayette. I mean, that literally was the reason that we were, instead of being a 10 seed, we were in the first 4 game. That was, and almost didn't make it. That was the reason why, is because we lost to them. I think they were ranked last in the country. And we had one bad game where stuff wasn't clicking. We weren't doing what we were supposed to do. And, that was the result. And then we talk about last year where we both felt like they got snubbed. I thought they had a great season, but there was just a couple of losses on the schedule and a couple games that it didn't look good from a numbers standpoint where, technically people thought they shouldn't belong in the tournament. So I think it can go both ways. And I think the good part about scheduling some of these harder teams is like, if you lose, it's not a bad loss. Like, and you're learning something.
Hmm.
And the Big Ten, there's so many opportunities for wins that,
Hmm.
I think it makes sense to start to schedule some tougher opponents. I thought this year was a little bit better. I mean, you got Princeton, who's a very good basketball team, in a neutral arena. You're playing Wake Forest on the road, Seton Hall away. So I thought it has been a little bit better this year, but going back to like that, like where the program is going, I think that Coach Peichel and the staff is going to have to beef up the schedule a little bit. You got guys like Dylan and Ace coming in, and the type of TV press that the team's going to be getting. You're going to have to start to put them in some of these little tournaments, non-conference tournaments beforehand. Just because it's the right thing to do, and it's probably the smart thing to do too. There was 2 years in a row where one year we almost got snubbed, and the second year you did get snubbed.
Playing with
You
fire.
don't want to make the same mistake 3 times where
No, for
where
sure.
it comes back to bite you. But I think this year's team has done a pretty good job so far of taking care of business. Obviously, lost to Princeton, but other than that, I think they've made sure to win the games that they were supposed to win.
Yeah, I like this team. I like this team. I like that we still haven't seen this group full force
Yep.
and healthy. And we don't know what the potential is when you get some of these other pieces back. I think it's strength in numbers with this team, and that applies to offense and scoring, which some people are up in arms about the inconsistency of where scoring is coming from. Well, on any given night, it can be anybody. And to the point about the scheduling, I think that just naturally with the hype and hysteria, that'll all naturally work itself out in the future. So be
Sure.
patient, and we'll see how that goes. Looking ahead, as we come to an end, two big games over the next 2 weekends: Mississippi State and Stonehill, for Rutgers to complete the month of January, winning 4 straight potentially. I'll be on the call for both of those on the Big Ten Network. Looking forward to that, and I know
Yes,
you'll be on the
sir.
call for at least one of them. You'll be back in the booth, man. So
I'll be in the
I'm
booth.
looking
Yeah,
forward to you
man.
bringing the juice and loving that. Have you had a chance to see either Mississippi State or Stonehill?
I haven't seen either of them. I was actually gonna look into Mississippi State in the next couple of days to get the little scout report on them. I know they've been having a very good season. I think they may be having an injury. I think one of their guys is gonna be out for the game though, which
Yeah,
you
Tolu
know
Smith, man. He was a preseason All American, a potential candidate, and a preseason All SEC dude who I would have loved to see match up with Cliff, but they just got big, country strong
yeah,
dudes
it's
that
a
can
different type
play.
of basketball too.
It is
It's
Chris
a different type of
Jans.
basketball.
He's very similar to Peichel, I would say, in his approach to having people who buy into the program and
Hmm.
how you play a particular style, the Rutgers way or the Mississippi State Bulldogs way, and it's all around defense. So these dudes really try to turn you over, and the offense has been up and down. They scored over 100 points a couple games ago
Yeah,
against Tulane, and then they'll score 50 and lose to a team like Southern at home.
yeah, I saw
So
that. I saw that.
who knows who you're going to get on any given night? But I think it's going to be some high flying, super physical, hard hedging, really quick guard play. They got a young boy, freshman Josh Hubbard, who was committed to Ole Miss,
Hmm.
who is now at Mississippi State, and he's putting up big numbers in his freshman season. So he has that, ability to go off and be streaky. So I'm interested for some of these individual matchups. They got some big boys, Jimmy Bell Jr., the West Virginia transfer, too, which is going to be a really good matchup for Cliff. And let's see if Rutgers can get the 2-0 in Newark this year, man. That'll be a big time win and a
Yeah,
neutral
man.
site.
That'll be a very big win for them, I would say for sure, and hopefully we see a couple more guys out on the court with them. Not sure yet what it'll look like, but obviously for me, man, I'm just really happy to see Mawot back though.
Oh
He's
man,
been
it
he's
makes a
been
world of
through.
difference.
I feel like every year we talk about the different battles that he has in terms of injuries. So happy to see him back out there and just um, playing the sport that he loves and having fun out there. So definitely going to be a tough game, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited for you too, bro, to be able to get back on
Appreciate you,
Big Ten
man.
Network. I'm excited to get on the radio for Stonehill with my guy Jerry Recco. That should be a good one too. haven't talked to him in a little bit, so that'll be fun and exciting. So yeah,
No,
man, looking forward
the
to it
Rutgers
all.
brand just continues to, I think, get better and better, and it's getting more in the right places, and more so credit again to the team for and guys like what you've done and Ron Harper to increase the brand and create opportunities like this. So I'm really excited for both of those situations too. And Stonehill, they haven't been winning, but you can't play down to anybody. You
Can't
know
play
that.
down anybody. That's right after Christmas too, man. Yeah, nah, it's those are sometimes those are the tough ones. Those are the tough ones.
For sure, man. Definitely shout out to Mawot Mag. So happy that he's back. Hopefully we get some news about some other guys, getting healthy and back right before Big Ten play. But, a nice quick catch up on what's been what for Rutgers thus far. Anything else for you top of mind?
Nah, man, nothing off
How's
the top
the
of my
how's the
mind.
training and everything going?
Man, training's going well. I got a lot of kids. I just added my man Caleb Green to the staff, so he's on board now too. Caleb Green's a former Fairfield Stag, so he played for Coach Young, so in the Rutgers family a little bit. 1,000-point scorer, so he's doing the training with me now too, and just trying to grow this thing and help as many kids as we can, man. I mean, it's just fun. Like it's I'm about to head to training right now after this once we get off. So go work with some kids, and I'm actually gonna go watch a high school game right after. So
Good
seeing
leaders
seeing
delegate, man. I
seeing
see
the
you. Good
work,
leaders
seeing the
delegate.
results, man, seeing the results. So hopefully it keeps going well, but it's fun, man. How's everything with you though? Everything's been straight.
It's good, man. Really cool to see Caleb on board. I had a chance to meet him. Obviously, you outsourcing some of these responsibilities to other people around you, so you're going about it in a smart way. Love to
Yeah,
see
man.
that building
Trying
the business in the right way.
for sure.
So it's crazy to see, how cool and the brand reception for you, and you building that out in the right way. And every time that somebody has talked about the training. I hear Jerry Recco, ironically, he was talking about his son and some
Yeah.
of the stuff that he's doing in his games now as a result of working with you. I'll send them your way, man.
Yeah,
So
man. Shout out Joseph. Shout out Joseph Recco, man. Yeah, yeah. Nah,
love
he's
it.
doing well. Nah, it's been really fun, bro. Me and Caleb were actually joking literally today about we got to come see you in the city too. We were just
Oh
talking
yeah,
about it.
for sure. Pull up.
So
You know where
yeah,
I'm
man.
at. You know where
Yeah,
I'll be, man.
we need some of the little tips on fintech, man. We gotta talk,
I
man.
got you. I got you, bro. Well, good episode. Good recap. Are you moving ahead? Mississippi State upcoming. And we'll check in with you guys next episode and appreciate you checking out the Are You Listening podcast. Talk to you soon.